The Kushnick family are Russian immigrants who left their homeland to escape persecution. As Jews in communist Russia, they were not allowed to openly celebrate religious holidays. But here in America, they finally felt safe to honor their centuries-old traditions. And each year, to celebrate their religious freedom, the Kushnicks proudly display an electric menorah in their window. But this year, their window menorah would take on a new meaning, one of religious persecution rather than religious freedom. At approximately 4:30 a.m., a car with 3 teenage males approached the Kushnick home and stopped. They had targeted the house, the only one on the block displaying a menorah, for a hate crime. The Kushnicks were awakened by the terrifying sound of glass breaking.
No, I'm not gonna stay.
It became immediately clear that someone had attacked them because of their religion. It brought back horrible memories from their past. Their rabbi, Elliot Strom, explains.
Living in what was then the Soviet Union as a Jew was a frightening phenomenon. And to have this rear its ugly head at a moment where they felt, I'm sure, completely secure and without anxiety, I can only imagine the kind of terror that they felt and the feeling that you get when you think you're finally safe and then you wonder whether you really are.
The next morning, while police investigated the incident, news of the hate crime spread throughout the neighborhood. Margie Alexander lived only a few doors away from the Kushnicks, but felt compelled to offer her assistance, even though she barely knew the victims.
Yes?
Hi, Margie Alexander. I heard what happened. If there's anything that I can do, please let me know.
Thank you.
But what could she possibly do to make her neighbors feel safe again?
And I went back home and I thought about it, and eventually I came up with the idea of everybody having an electric menorah. It seems like a simple solution, you know, but if everybody had one, everybody would be equal.
And so Margie began a search for electric menorahs.
To have everyone on the street by sundown with the menorah in their window was a goal that I wasn't sure was going to be obtainable when I started out. Trying to get a lot of electric menorahs on the 3rd day of Hanukkah was a challenge. And it got further away as I was going from one store to the next store to the next store. And as I got around to maybe the 3rd, maybe the 4th store, I was starting to say, you know, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to give out. And it was just around then that I got a telephone call on my cell phone. And it was my other neighbor.
Lisa.
And she's already got a few of them also.
Okay, I've got 7.
In an amazing coincidence, her neighbor had come up with the exact same idea. And so now, Margie joined forces with Lisa Keeling.
Okay, I'm gonna find out how many are in this store. Okay, I'll call you right back.
I can't imagine anybody not wanting to do something. And it wasn't just the holidays. It's just someone in my neighborhood had been hurt deeply. And they were hurt because they were Jewish. And I was not going to stand for it in my neighborhood.
Hello, Margie? Yes, okay, I have 7. How many do you have?
And I was just completely supported by somebody else saying, hey, you know what, this is the right idea, let's do this. And it was enough to keep going.
Okay, I'll go over here.
The 2 women were able to find a total of 18 menorahs that day, one for every house on the block. The next step was to rally their neighbors to take part in their plan.
Hit me like a lead balloon that suddenly I'm going to be asking people to put menorahs up in their window. And I have no idea if they're going to say yes, if they're going to say no.
Are your mom and dad home?
If this is going to go over well or completely bomb, I have no idea.
And we stressed that you were essentially putting yourself as a target because we didn't know who had committed this crime.
This is an electric menorah. What happens is...
And we explained what Hanukkah is all about. We explained to them how you light a menorah, and we told them what happened to a neighbor Many of the people that we talked to didn't really know who they were, or it didn't matter to them. And they said that this is no problem. They would definitely support someone in our neighborhood and make them feel safe.
The Kushnick family had no idea what their neighbors were doing on their behalf. And so when Mrs. Kushnick drove home that night, she was greeted by a sight she will never forget. Every neighbor on the block had placed a menorah in their window in a shining display of solidarity and support.
And I think she was quite overwhelmed, because after having something so horrible happen to you, to have them stand up beside you just really overwhelmed her. To me, it was a beautiful sight. There were Christmas decorations lit, and there were Hanukkah decorations lit, and everything was the way it was supposed to be.
There's a wonderful story that comes out of the Nazi conquest of Denmark in the Second World War. They insisted that the Jews wear identifying armbands or stars that had Jude in the middle, that means Jew. The Danish king said, "We are all Danes. If this is what you're going to insist on, we're all Jews." And the story is that he himself wore the Jewish star and asked all of his fellow citizens to do so. And I thought of that story when I thought of what it must have been for this woman to drive along her street and to see that she was no longer going to be singled out in this terrible way by what these kids had done. In the Soviet Union, it was unthinkable for there to be that kind of support from the community. And here she gets it in such a dramatic fashion.
That night, the incredible support of their neighbors gave the Kushnicks the courage to place their menorah once again in their window.
I've been told, and I believe, that you can't save the whole world. You can only save a little piece of it. And if this is my piece of it to save, then that's what I'm going to do.
Thank you so
As a token
much
of their appreciation, Lisa and Margie's neighbors gave them a special gift along with everyone else on the street, a beautiful Christmas ornament.
It's very nice to me that someone who is Jewish and does not follow my religion can give me not only an ornament for my holiday, but a church. When we put up our tree, we always put our special little church at a spot that's very prominent on the front.
And both Lisa and Margie continue another holiday tradition.
I will always display a menorah in my home so that people who come to my house will know that they're welcome here, their beliefs are welcome here, and that the light will shine around me.
I have personally made the decision to continue to put out my menorah along with the rest of my Christmas decorations, because it reminds me personally of how doing something good, even if it is just a small thing, could make such a wonderful impact on so many different people's lives.
I suspect that those people who question whether there are miracles in the world today are looking for something supernatural and dramatic. I think if you're looking for those kinds of miracles, you might look for a long time and be disappointed. But the real miracles are acts of kindness that people perform for each other when there's no ulterior motive and there's no personal gain. To me, that's the greatest miracle of all.